Alright, welcome back to SouFLoTV again, everybody. It's your host with the most. Watch this. Don't move. Don't go anywhere. This is only an introduction. Somebody linked me and them said, SouFlo, how come you not do nothing upon the woman will get dashed away after she left England because she win a whole heap of money and them something there? And I said I hadn't seen the story and they sent me a whole bunch of links. So this is what this story is about. I covered this story before, but we did not have the proper details. We did have the proper details, but not in-depth details. So now we're having details coming from the UK side as to how she got all her money and what she did exactly with her money and who put her out of this life. Them kind of something there. So stay tuned because there's a whole lot of other information in here. You know, people always talk about how I want to go back to Jamaica and live peacefully, you know what I'm saying? Retire there to sunshine and pretty beaches and all these things. And of course, a lot of people have done it successfully and they're still alive and living their life happy and healthy in Jamaica into their retirement age. And it is very well possible to do. It is not a doomsday ends all be all, please tell everybody don't go, stay where you're at kind of thing. We've always said that we're not going to promote that agenda and we're still not promoting that agenda, alright? So listen to this video and also the videos that are attached to it because we covered this extensively. Not only did we talk about what can happen, but we talk about how to move when you're there, alright? How to move so that you are not easily picked out, preyed upon, picked off, even by family members, because a lot of these things happen with family members who are fighting over possessions, land and these kind of things. And we tell you how to get around all that stuff and how to actually go off into the sunset happily on the beautiful island of Jamaica and don't get caught up and become a statistic like another returning resident get dashed away. Headline topic, all right, and I'll catch you at the end. All right, so this type of story has become all too common for us Jamaicans as far as returning residents coming back to Jamaica after making a life for themselves overseas in foreign countries and deciding that, you know, I want to go back to the homeland of my birth and live out my days. I'm done working now. I've saved enough. I can go build this dream house and enjoy sunshine and nature, which Jamaica has a lot of, and live out my days, you know? And they end up losing their lives behind all this. So let me put this disclaimer out there before I go any further and say that this video is intended in no way to discourage anyone from returning to the island. As a matter of fact, at the end of this video, I have other videos that are attached where I go through painstaking lengths to do proper research to make sure that you know how to move when you are on the ground, even before you get there, how to set yourself up properly so you too can go back and enjoy, if so be your wish. All right. With this particular story, Evadne Gale was her name, and she had gone back to the island of Jamaica where she was born, and she had moved into her dream home, but weeks later, it became the setting of her tragic ending. All right. Now, we're taking this one directly from what's called the Mirror. We've seen it in many other papers throughout the UK and many other news sites throughout the UK because they're all carrying this story. Now we just chose one. They all pretty much have the same exact story. So she was a British shopkeeper, as they called her. You know, in Jamaica, when we say shopkeeper, it means that somebody have a little shop down the road there with a couple of goods in it, and she's a shopkeeper. It's kind of different in England. It's still shopkeeper, but it's more on a bigger scale. You understand? So anyways, she was a Brit shopkeeper who, according to them, she had won £300,000 during a lucky night at a casino. This is how she got the bulk of her money to build her dream home in Jamaica. It was the £300,000 that she won. And she won that £300,000 by betting one single pound. Now listen to the rest of her story, because there's tragedy involved, and then she rebounded and then ended like this. So the former Birmingham shopkeeper Evadne Gale had gone back to the island of Jamaica where she was born, and she moved into her dream home just a few weeks before everything all came crashing down. The life-changing windfall had helped Mrs. Gale build her dream home, but the palatial property in St. Tutti tragically became the setting for her barbaric ending. The 67-year-old grandmother's body was discovered by a relative, according to the Birmingham Live reports. It is understood that an arrest has been made and that the suspect was very well known to Mistress Gale, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Mistress Gale had lived in Edgbaston. I'm sure all my British people who know this area in Birmingham are going to say how much I butchered the word, but please understand that it is your word, right? So go ahead and say it however you want to say it, and correct me if you feel like it. Edgbaston, or Eggbaston in Birmingham. She was a popular figure, actually. For many years, she ran a busy Jamaican greengrocers. The hair you see on top of her head is her actual locks. She was very much into health and nature. She ran a greengrocers. Before that, Mrs. Gale actually owned a fashion store with her late husband, whose name was Dennis. Now, Dennis, I believe, had died in a motorcar accident. She is yet another returnee, Jamaican-born UK citizen, who gave up her citizenship and started a new life back in the land of her birth, only to meet a tragic end. Evadne was a friend to Lionel Martin, better known to fans as Saxa, the saxophonist with top two-tone band The Beat. She was featured in the Birmingham Mail in 2003 after winning the fortune £300,000 at a Birmingham casino. The article was captioned by saying that Evadne Gale's nets the highest ever UK win for just £1 stake on a national game. Her actual win was not £300,000 to be exact. It was £290,684.52. We just rounded off to £300,000. News of her murder in November of 2019 stunned Birmingham community from which she came. One close friend who asked not to be named said, she was a lovely, lovely, lovely lady. When she said that she was going back to Jamaica, I told her, I said, don't go down there and fight and have any issues over land with anybody. Don't go there and fight with people over anything, over land or anything. It's not worth it. There are people that are returning to Jamaica every day. Hundreds of thousands have returned back home and are living there just fine. Commenting on her friend's death, she added, when they do that to you in Jamaica, they normally make sure that you are dead, because it's usually about a family feud over land or money or jobs or something. 99% of the time, it's not done by a stranger. Byron Christian, a regular customer at Mrs. Gale's shop, said that she was a proper business person, very chatty, very popular. Her shop was a real meeting place. It's tragic, very tragic. Close friend Leroy James, a restaurant worker, said, I was shocked. Everyone is shocked. She was such a nice person. A member of the Birmingham Association of Jamaican Nationals said, it's shocking. She was always saying she was going to go back to Jamaica and build her dream home and retire and live in sunshine and paradise on the beautiful island. She always said that. Her shop on Dudley Road sold Caribbean food, and well known it was. Evadne has been added to the list of Birmingham residents that have been violently killed in Jamaica over the past few years. In 2014, businessman Keith Meringue was abducted, stripped naked, and his throat was cut shortly after he arrived in Jamaica Norman Manley Airport. He was one of them that they said walked through the airport, processed through immigrations, came out into the open, and went missing. Was later found naked with his throat slashed. In 2018, Birmingham charity worker Delroy Walker, who, like Evadne, had returned to start a life in the land of his birth, was stabbed to death in his Rio Nuevo home, which he called his dream home. As yet, no one has been caught or convicted for those other murders. Now, the mother of 2 daughters and 2 sons have moved to the home she built in St. Tully's only 3 weeks before the November 17th tragic ending. Only 3 weeks she had moved in before that tragic ending. The list of murdered returnees UK citizens has scrimped and saved to return to Jamaica is disturbingly long and getting longer with each year. Following Evadne's death, Percival Latouche, the president of the Jamaican Association for the Resettlement of Returning Residents, had urged those considering coming back to the island permanently to think about it. Jamaica has become a fertile place to commit murder, he warned. Now let's stick a pin for a second and look into that, because when he said that comment, I at first was one of them that was saying, how could you be in that position and you're telling people to not return? Because that's what he said at first. He said, don't come back, right? But if we look at it, where it says that Jamaica has, let's compartmentalize this phrase. Jamaica has become a fertile place to commit murder, he warned. That's no lie. That's not a lie. It's not made up. You have consistently, for the past decade or more, over 1,000 people getting murdered in Jamaica, and the majority of those killings have not been solved or caught. And majority of the time, the number is 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, even 1,700 lives taken. All right. So he is right when he says that. So, and let's not forget, per capita, we are ranked at number 2 in the world of most murderous countries. Next to, I believe, it's El Salvador. So we can skin our noses up and get arrogant or ignorant all we want and be offended, but the numbers don't lie, and the proof is in the pudding, and the truth is there that we have to face that ugly truth. So if you're going to be returning to live there, please remember that murder happens there pretty frequently. We can all debate all day and talk about how the circumstances under which, because some people are going to say, if you just mind your business, you will be all right. Now get involved in no gang activity. Stay away from bad man business. And make sure, say, if you're a returning resident, that you take all the precautions that are in the SouFLoTV video, which is the next video that I told y'all. Watch this one to the end and then go through all the precautionary steps in that video, and you should be okay. And you will be okay. But the truth of the matter is, it's still happening. All right. Now, Percival Latouche, he alleged that last year saw a 47% rise in returnee murders. In all, there were 25 returnees that were murdered. Mr. Latouche added, the type of murders, the barbarity of these murders, the brutalism, the way that these people are being killed. I am not encouraging anybody to come back here to live, because we're not just talking about somebody shoot you down from way over there and you get a 1 bullet and you drop and you dead. We're talking about being hacked to death viciously, chop after chop. We're talking about multiple stabs, 15, 20 stabs. We're talking about a barbaric ending. I can imagine the fear, the fright that one must feel at 60-something years old to be meeting your ending in this manner. And he is saying that he is not encouraging anybody to come back under those situations. Mr. Latouche added, he is adamant that the lives of well over 200 expatriates have been snuffed out since 2000. In 2017, 8 of them in 2017 were all British. Friends said that Mrs. Gale, whose husband died in a car crash in the 80s, late 80s, and she never remarried, she traveled to the West Indies 2 years ago, but she regularly returned to Birmingham. The mother of 2 had just moved in. She has 2 sons, and she had just moved into the home that she had built in St. Tullies only 3 weeks before the November 17 tragedy. A nephew that is living on the land told the Jamaican Star that this incident has shaken our family. Everybody is messed up because of the way how she died. Nobody has taken it good. I don't even sleep from last night. Can't even eat. Local councillor Claudia Morant Baker described the victim as a nature lover, as did her friends in the UK. She was driven by nature. She was known to the neighbors as Miss Birdie because she loved the birds them. Con Morant Baker said the springs that ran behind her house, she loved nature, and this is why she decided to live here. She had been back and forth between Jamaica and the UK for quite a few years, but she settled here finally just a few weeks ago. Finished building her house probably about a year ago. It has been 3 weeks that she moved into this house, and Sunday night would have made the complete 3 weeks. So she didn't even move into the house 1 complete 3 weeks. It was 2 weeks and 5-6 days. All right. Sunday night, when I saw her laying there in a pool of blood, I cried, man. I cried. I couldn't even, it could have been me, my mother, my sister, who was taken away so brutally. Miss Gale death brought the 2019 death toll in Manchester, a parish of the 320 square miles, to 36. With the body count growing, Birmingham community activist Desmond Jadu, who has been in contact with Mrs. Gale's family, urged would-be returnees to approach the life-changing experience with open eyes. And he said some things that we have said before. He is very critical of the Jamaican government for failing to provide the services, the support, and the infrastructure for those coming back to the island need. He had a simple tip for UK residents that are preparing to plunge into a totally different lifestyle. He said, go and have a taster. Go for a little time. A month, 2, 3 months, and then come back. Establish your presence there first. I think security is a big issue, not just for returnees, but also for those who have been deported to Jamaica. The support mechanism is non-existent. Now, he is absolutely right, because we've done a video on that as well, where we spoke about the precautionary measures or the measures that should be put into place by our government in Jamaica to make sure that those who are being deported back into the country, especially the ones that are going to be left in a destitute position, no living relatives, no longer around. Could you imagine coming out of the airport and you don't know if you should turn left or right or up or down because you have been gone from this place for so long and the place has changed so much and you are out of touch with the culture because you have never returned over the many decades that you've been gone, and you left as a child and now you're returning as a grown adult. These kind of things, right? So we talked before about job training, we talked about housing, we talked about a transitionary period, we talked about collecting DNA database setup, we talked about all these things in our video that we talk about solutions to the issue. Now that
Anyhow,
her picture out,
could you imagine if somebody got deported from Birmingham, where she was from, and then got wind of it that she finally moved to Jamaica? It was already on their mind that money dead there, right? And I'm here in a destitute situation. I'm gonna go see what I could get from her. Come in, know she have money. I've known her since Birmingham, right? So you could see how these kind of things could lead one into the other. However, it's not for me to tell people to go or not to go. I can only urge people to assess their individual circumstances. If people know there are family disputes or there are issues in the area, they must take those into consideration. You need to dot the I's and cross the T's and measure the risks. There are families returning who are open to exploitation because there are no support services for them. If you have doubts about returning, address those doubts first and foremost. And he is absolutely right. Now, within closing this video, I'm going to say this. What we heard is that there was some dispute over land. And she built on the land anyways, even though someone had threatened her, which is a relative, a distant relative, I believe it's a cousin or something, had threatened her that, man, go do you something enough. And she said she went and got paperwork drawn up for the land anyways. So in their eyes, she was taking away the land from them, right? The land is some family land who was handed down from wherever, and she dropped the space to the land, take out our paperwork, proper paperwork, went about it the legal way, get her house built and all this, and then this was the outcome there. All right. So here we are. And I'm going to say this before I end the video. There's a lesson in this to be learned by all of us. All right. Someone close to me told me recently, a few days ago, they said they're having some issues in Jamaica with someone that they contracted to do some work. But the person is not a professional. They just do that kind of work. And they're shorting that person some money because that's not the agreement that they made. And I told them, I said, in the grand scheme of things, that little bit of money that you're talking about in US dollars, I know how you live here. That is really no money to you. You spend that on lunch or dinner. Pay that person that money just to keep your head back clear. Don't have no dispute because it could be over a little bit of money that you lose your life because you don't know who is plotting and how much that little bit of money meant to them. All right. So take this as a lesson. And again, pass these information on so that others can retire back home as well and feel safe as well. There are measures to be taken and you need to follow the guidelines.
It's SouFLoTV, man. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Each one teach one. Pass it on. I'm out. Peace.